Hi, everyone. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Dan Lockton. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Alex.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah,
Where in the world are you?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Amazing. And today we are going to talk through some of the things that you care about via three things that you brought us. What's the first thing?
So the first thing I have, and I'm doing this at the beginning because it's working right now, but it might stop working in a minute. This is a miniature Stirling engine that runs off the heat from in this case, like a mug of hot water or tea. And all it does is it just like the heat makes in this case, just air inside this kind of chamber. Like it makes it expand, and then it pushes up a piston, which via this kind of crank turns a wheel. And then as it moves back down again, it compresses it again, expands it again. And it's not particularly impressive. This is a present my brother got me because I've been talking about it for years. What I like about it, I mean, obviously it's not a petrol motion machine, but kind of things like it. It relies on there being like a heat difference, a temperature difference between the air here and the heat of the liquid in the mug. But it uses that effect to create something, to run, so it uses this sort of natural effect to produce something. I mean, you can't really do much work with it. You can see it's stopped now because it's away from the heat. But I think I like it because you can see what's going on. So it's transparent in the sense that you can see how the system works. Like it's almost like it's a kind of interface for a natural phenomenon or an effect that is sort of a way of making that into a way of seeing what's happening. So it reveals this kind of hidden thing, well not hidden, but this thing that's going on everywhere where there's temperature differences between things. It turns it into something else. And so it's sort of, as technology, it's it's a different relationship with the world, I think. It's not just about, I guess it is exploiting a natural phenomenon, but it's not about destroying it. It's not about kind of extracting resources and then using them up. It's more about something that is sort of working more in harmony, I guess, with the world. And yeah, I've had to put energy into heating the water. I burned some fracked gas in order to do that. And yeah, so it's bad in that way. But there's something about the kind of this relationship being made visible and that I just really like, and I kind of like that idea, and I think we could do some other things with it.
Do you think the legibility is what makes it good by default? Do you think there's a kind of inbuilt value that we value because we understand it, and if we don't, we fear it?
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think the legibility is partly what appeals to me about it, but I don't know whether that's necessarily true in general. But I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of our sort of identity as humans is almost like making the natural world legible in some way. And obviously that has other issues, right? That causes a lot of problems, and it's, and that kind of idea of cataloging and kind of almost representing everything, and it's not represented, then it's not, I think obviously has a huge amount of problems. But I think there's still something magic about it, but the magic is the fact that it's sort of this way of doing things is being conjured out of stuff that already existed. But it's a clever, it's magical in some ways, but I think maybe it's just legibility that really appeals to me.
Amazing. What's your second object for us?
So the second object here is a wasp's nest, or part of a wasp's nest. And I don't know what type of wasps they are. I found this attached to the corner of the wall outside a few days ago. And it's empty, most people left it behind. But it's such an amazing object. It's very small. It's made of kind of chewed up material, kind of paper, effectively. It's really light and really delicate. Although not as delicate as I thought. I was worried that I'd crush it by removing it or breaking it. off the wall. But it has like a a sort of little pad, if you like, one little bit that the Wasps have made to attach it to the wall in the first place. So they've built it from this tiny sort of almost like little T-shaped platform that presumably was very sticky, that they made to attach it onto the wall. And everything's built up from that. And it's kind of got this structure that, like if I was designing, as a designer, if I was designing something, that's probably not going to hold it very well. You need to have you probably need multiple attachment points, and, this isn't a very good design, blah, blah. But it actually, obviously worked for them and managed to hold enough cells for, I don't know how many cells it's got, but there's quite a lot there. It's just such an amazing object. It's like, it looks manufactured, and it is manufactured, but it's not manufactured by us. And it's just so, I don't know, I can't quite get my head around why don't we, not just about learning, obviously there's learning from nature in that way, but just, I don't know, maybe respecting it more.
Mm. Do you think there's something interesting in what we perceive to be, we're back to I'm asking you the same question in a sense as your first object, but because we see that and we see the architectural flaw in it, then we almost don't believe it could be made by nature, because nature is supposed to be more effective than we are, and always has a solution that's better than ours, but also is somehow captured in an aesthetic that we recognize as superior. So we kind of have our judgment of what nature should be doing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I think that's probably, there's definitely some truth in that. Even our understanding, do we see, what are our mental models of nature? What are our kind of like imaginaries of nature? Do we see nature as like, is nature are we part of nature? Is nature our friend? Is nature our enemy? Is nature better than us? Is nature like, not as competent as humans? Is it more competent? Is it even competent? But like, maybe it just gets into those questions like, how do we even conceptualize this kind of vast thing that we're obviously part of, but in many ways acting against? But how do we understand how we live with it? I guess. I don't know. And he's being a designer. I guess one of a lot of being a designer in the last 100 years has been, well, more than that, really. You're designing, or an engineer, or kind of someone creating technology. A lot of it has been trying to overcome nature in some way, trying to overcome what we see as limitations or obstacles or things like that. But maybe there are other ways to relate to it.
I think it's interesting. I'm reading at the minute the history of the Talesian Fellowship, which is Frank Lloyd Wright's kibbutz, for lack of a better expression. And of course, he was the one to talk about organic architecture at the same time as Louis Sullivan. And so this idea that nature has something for us to tap into, as opposed to necessarily learn from. So for us to take over the hints from nature and then do our thing with it, I think is also an interesting, quite old, approach, but I think we still drag that with us somehow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What is your third object for us today?
So the third object, and this may take some explanation, this is a glass vial filled with different coloured sugar in different layers. And you can't really see the layers as they kind of mix up. There's sort of green and red and some yellow as well, and some white. This is a project that some of my students worked on, which is for creative, which they call personalised potions. And what they really are, this was done by Jen Brown and Ulu Mills and Carly Guilfoyle and Superwatt, Victoria Picorn and Mikhail Luria. What it is it's almost like you create a prescription for yourself of what the different coloured sands mean, or sugar means. So you say over, you know, I need over the next week, or to help me with this project, maybe it's not the next week, maybe it's the rest of my life or something. What qualities do I need? Do I need, you know, do I need hope, or do I need self-discipline, or do I need kind of courage to stand up to people or whatever? And each colour, you assign what it means yourself. They had some suggestions, but people also created their own. And you put the amount that you think you're going to need, or the proportion, and maybe order as well. Like, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that in this kind of vial. And you fill in a kind of prescription for yourself, and then you can carry it around. You can keep it with you. You could have it as something you look at to see, you know, am I doing this? Am I sticking to this? You could share it with others. Maybe you could say, look, this is what I'm kind of thinking about right now. This is what seems to be important to me. And I suppose I like it partly because the students developed this as an idea. As a project during a class we had about trying to kind of materialize mental health. So it was about, can you sort of find ways of either understanding yourself better, or sharing with others, or understanding others' experiences. So it could be private, could be more about sharing. Through we did various things. Some of them were models that people made to kind of represent abstract emotions, and some of them were kind of almost like, I think one group were looking at like creating compound words that didn't really exist, but that expressed the kind of sort of almost unsayable combinations of emotions. But this project, and we subsequently did this at the Mozilla Festival. We ran this as like a kind of public workshop where people could create their own potions and take them away with them. And we didn't really treat it as a research project, so we didn't actually learn much about what people did with it. It was more to see how this sort of approach work. And I guess I like it because it's something about the way that this kind of thinking links these abstract ideas which are really important to us. So, you know, I talk about hope, I talk about having kind of hope in the future, trust that things will work out, whatever. Those terms are so abstract and they mean so many different things to people. But having like a physical form to connect us to it, even if it doesn't mean anything to anyone else, is, I don't know, it seems important somehow. It seems like a representation of like how you were thinking at a point in time, and so you can kind of keep looking at it. It's like a reminder. So yeah, I don't know. I think that approach has something interesting.
I think it's super nice because it's also taking advantage of things like, you know, why people get tattoos and why people sort of invest in a relationship with an object that's not just transient. It's also a reflection of a time and a place, and a reflection of a particular desire. And I think that's quite rare now in design. A lot of relationships to the physical world are very transient. They're very functional. They're not really about, you know, mental health. And last week was Mental Health Awareness Week. And, you know, I think a lot of these things come and go and we sort of forget. So this is really lovely. Thank you for sharing these 3 things with us today.
Thanks. Thank you.